Happy Monday, everybody. Let's kick off Thanksgiving week here in the United States of America with a great show today. We have a guest. Lynn joins us from Indianapolis, Indiana, and she is a travel expert, a travel journalist, and she is going to share many tips for flying Southwest Airlines to the Disney destinations for little to no cost if you follow her plans. We talk about, some of her favorite memories of traveling to the Disney destinations, and then we jump into tips for using credit card promotions and benefits to get those costs down for flying, also using a companion pass, how to earn that pass, and more, and tips for just making flying Southwest a more pleasurable experience. I think you're going to learn a lot in the 35 plus minutes we have with Lynn, and maybe this will save you some money here moving into 2025. Don't forget, today's show always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure. And here's the deal. No additional cost to you. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the all-stars of our podcast. You keep us on the air. You can support us as well, just $5 a month. And for that support, you get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2596 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. And we are following our Canadian friends. It's our turn down here in the States this week. We have made it to Thanksgiving week. That's right. This is that week where we don't have to worry. Well, most of us don't have to worry about working 5 days. We get to work a few days, and then the turkey is looking us straight in the eye. Tom Turkey, I'm looking at you on Thursday. Of course, my birthday's Wednesday, so I get like the 48-hour kind of thing this week. It's going to be awesome. So, we're going to have a great week here in the States. Football aplenty this weekend. Got to beat Arkansas. My Mizzou Tigers, big game coming up. We're going to have a great time. And, of course, this week, everybody going here, there, and everywhere. Over the river, through the woods, to grandmother's house we go, but also through the skies. And that's what we're talking about today. We have a very special guest. And joining us today, we have Lynn Mettler. She's a longtime travel journalist for outlets like USA Today and U.S. News and World Report, who's figured out a way to always fly her family for free using travel rewards. She now teaches that process to families around the country through her Families Fly Free podcast and membership program. We'd like to welcome Lynn to the show today. Lynn, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. And you are another Midwesterner. We were talking about that in the pre-show out in Indianapolis. Very popular place for us. Yes.
Yeah, it's good place to fly out of. It's centrally located, Very nice. You are too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've actually worked with Give Kids the World, one of the places down in Central Florida that helps families that are having their kids go through a lot of medical difficulties. And we've hosted a lot of get-togethers there in Fishers, Indiana, right outside of Indianapolis. So lots of friends in your area.
Yeah, I'm not too far away in Zionsville. So nice.
Very cool. So we're going to talk about flying Southwest, which is my preferred airline. I got to tell you, and we've talked about this on the podcast a few years back. I got away from Southwest for one time. I flew Frontier. Whew.
Oh, Frontier.
It was.
I'm with you.
Man, it was rough.
Never again.
Yeah. I thought the planes looked cool. You know, they had the animals on the tail, and I thought, and also, to be honest, they flew out of the main terminal at our airport here in St. Louis, and like Southwest flies out of Terminal 2, and I always wanted to go into the historic terminal, right? And I was like, I want to do that. Oh, it wasn't worth it.
I know. I always say you couldn't pay me to fly Frontier.
Yeah,
because they are just mean. Mean.
They were trying to sell me a credit card the whole time. I was like, I don't need a credit card. Like, stop. but just anyway. So I'm not here to dog anybody. I'm just saying I'm a Southwest fan, and
Southwest is great.
Yeah, and I'll tell my story about that here in just a bit. But I want this to be about you. So we're here on a Disney podcast. We talk about the Disney destinations, World, Disneyland, cruise. Tell me a little bit about your Disney fandom before we hop into helping folks save money and just make flying Southwest a great experience for everybody.
Yeah, so I'd say my love for Disney really began when I got married. So my husband had grown up going to Disney World every year with his family. And so we ended up honeymooning at Disney World. And so I had been, but it had been a long time. That's when I really kind of fell in love with it. And so, but then we went through a period where we just really couldn't afford to go there and all of that. And once I figured out how to fly us for free, that opened up for us the opportunity not just to go to Disney, but other places. And so that was in about 2015. And so what we've tried to do is go to Disney World one year, Disneyland the next year, and kind of rotate between the two. And then we went to Disneyland Paris for the first time last summer. So that was on my bucket list to see that. And so I was excited to get to see that in person.
Very cool that you've gone to like all three of those destinations. Now, which one would you say like ranks the highest? Because I know these things are like very fluid, right? You ask me one day, World's at the top. Right now, I'll tell you, Land is my favorite right now, just because it's kind of the new hotness. I hadn't been out there until 2022, and I just kind of fell in love with the nostalgia of Disneyland. But what would you say is kind of at the top of your list right now?
I mean, between Disney World and Disneyland, they both have their high points. And the first time we went to Disneyland, we were just kind of like, this is it. Mm-hmm. And we came in the wrong way. Like we came in through the parking garage and it was just not a good entrance. And we were like, okay, we're going to take the kids. It was just my husband and I. We're going to go back. We'll do it again. And it was so much better the next time. We went in the right way. And then we really came to appreciate, like what I love about Disneyland is how compact it is, how you can do both parks. We like you said, the nostalgia of it is amazing. They have Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and all those kind of rides that you don't have anymore, and we absolutely love, like one of our favorite rides of all time is the Haunted Mansion Holiday that they do out there. I mean, that is just a jaw dropper.
It is. And ironically, because I talk about this on show all the time, I don't get that movie at all. Like I don't understand that movie. That movie's weird to me, but I went on that last year when I was out there. I did it 4 times.
Oh yes.
It's so like, it's stunning. The soundtrack of it is awesome. The visuals is awesome. The movie I think is just the weirdest thing ever. I cannot get through it, but you're exactly right. That is such a cool attraction.
Yeah, they just have outdone themselves with that one, just because it's just a complete redo is what blows my mind. So we love all that about Disneyland, but then there's just you can't beat all the options at Disney World. And I'm a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. I could ride that ad nauseum. I just love that one. I think that's the greatest ride of all time.
You're tougher than I am. I get that it's a great attraction. Just I can't do it.
Tough to ride.
I can't do the motion. Yeah, seriously, I tried. I was there I was there for the media event when it opened. They said you can ride this all day. You can ride for 6 hours, as much as you want. I was like, check please. One time.
I'm like that on some kind of roller coasters, but that one I do fine on. I just think it's just fun, I
want to.
Another well done.
I want to, because it is fun. I mean, it has got it all. I did a second time because my daughters came down like for a vacation. And I said, okay, maybe it was just a bad day. Nope, wasn't a bad day. Nope. Yeah. Tried a second time, but. So let me ask you this. So you got any, you mentioned a couple of attraction favorites. What about, we always talk about dining here. You have any favorite Disney snacks, restaurants, anything like that?
Liberty Tree Tavern.
Oh, yeah.
That's just been a long time favorite of mine. Once we ate there, there's just nothing better than that, in my opinion. So, and we often like to go over Thanksgiving. We've done that for the last several years, and it's like, that's your Thanksgiving dinner,
I was going to say, you nailed it for this week. You picked the perfect restaurant for like this week right now. If you had a perfect place to go, it'd be Liberty Tree. And my co-host and best bud, Scott, is down there right now staying at the cabins, and he's going to have a meal at Liberty Tree, I'm sure.
Lucky him. Yeah, and at Disneyland, I would say I love it's the Cafe Orleans and the Monte Cristo sandwich.
Oh my
Must
gosh. You just
must eat that every time.
That is my we are vibing because that is my favorite. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
Cafe Orleans or the Blue Bayou. Either way, they both have the Monte Cristo, and I have a little hurricane with it, and life's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're in New Orleans, huh?
I mean, I've never been to New Orleans, but I don't need to. Like, just
You've
give
had
me
your hurricane.
Hey, give me Disneyland. I've been to Soulard and St. Louis when we have Mardi Gras. It's about the same thing. All right, so let's hop into this. Let me get my background real quick on Southwest because, here being in the Midwest, and I'll just real quick because people that have been with our show, we've been on the air since 2008. We've been doing this for almost 17 years. Know that in the first quarter of the time we were doing our podcast, I was scared to fly. I mean, I would not fly, but we went to Walt Disney World for 2 or 3, 4 times a year, and we would always drive. It's about a 15-hour drive from St. Louis to Orlando. And I had, my daughter now is 27, my oldest daughter. My youngest is going on 17 in January. So we'd load up the car and we'd leave out of here about, 7 or 8. We drive overnight so the kids could sleep. I'd have to drive overnight. It stunk for me, but at least the kids slept, and get there in the morning. And it was fine, because I sacrificed, got scared to fly. But eventually it got to the point where, because I went to all these I did all the Run Disney stuff, so I'd run the races. But eventually, life catches up to you. So my back was hurting driving there. And there's a couple times where, it's just like, it became an endurance thing. And I was thinking to myself, start getting
You can do the marathons. You can drive for 15 hours.
But my dad was telling me this, he's like, look, you're putting your family in more danger driving overnight than getting in that airplane. You need to basically told me you need to man up and just get in an airplane. You're safe. Because my dad works for the Rams and he flies all over the place, all the games. He's like, there's nothing, it's insane that you're scared to fly. And so finally I was like, okay, fine. So a few years ago, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, going out for the wine and dine races, I had a couple margaritas, got on a plane. And of course it was storming that night. And I mean, it was bouncy. There was no internet. There was nothing. It was not great.
Oh,
but
no. Yeah,
we made it. We lived, right? We made it there, and I was shocked. I mean, it was like I Back to the Future or something. It was like, oh my gosh, we got here in 2 hours and 10 minutes, instead of 15 hours. It was like I was a Wright brother or something. I couldn't believe it, So ever since, obviously, I've flown. But I'll tell you what, with Southwest, getting back to the topic on hand, what got me initially just is kind of almost their marketing and how they sell friendliness. It's the whole heart thing, and I know it's all marketing stuff, but I mean, it worked on me. And plus in St. Louis, they have a lot of flights out of our town, but it truly, and I've always felt this when I've flown with Southwest, that the flight attendants, the pilots, everybody, even the gate agents, they all seem like they really do care. I mean, and I'm not just blowing smoke here. I don't fly other airlines, so I don't have anything to compare it to, but I truly do feel like that they have a smile on their face when you enter the plane. I know that sometimes they're just throwing, cookies and brownie brittle and stuff like that. But I mean, they're nice, so I've never had a reason not to, and the fares are fine. And, I use my rewards points and stuff like that. But that's kind of my backstory with Southwest. That's why I choose to fly SWA or whatever they had for their old hashtag. But I don't know. Yeah. So kind of what's your story? How did you start flying with Southwest?
Well, and I like my flying story, years of being afraid to fly, but I've been flying by myself since I was, I think, 4 or 5, because my parents divorced when I was young and they lived in different cities. And so I kind of thought it was great fun to fly because I was a little kid.
Nice.
And it was like a roller coaster to me, and so I never had that fear because it just was normal to me. So I really had never flown Southwest though, until I think my husband and I had flown it once, but until I learned about how to do travel rewards. And what really grabbed me immediately was the ability to earn a Southwest Companion Pass, which no other airline compares when it comes to that, which is basically, if you can earn this pass, one person always flies for free with you on as many flights as you want to take while you have this pass. So I thought, okay, that's amazing. So if I can figure out how to do that, now we're talking. And so that's what got us into Southwest to start with. And I'm with you. I love them. Now, I'm going to tell you to fly them because you can fly them for free using points better than like a million times better than you can anyone else, that's a great reason to, of course, to fly them. But the next best reason is because they are amazing to deal with. Like you said, they truly are, I agree, friendly. They are, it isn't, they do market it that way, but they live up to it. Like, they try to be funny and different on the flight. And their customer service is great. You can bring 2 bags for free, which is great for families going to Disney. If you want to pack all the stuff, like we would pack when we were going to Disney, a bag full of food, because it would save us and it didn't cost us to check it with Southwest. So why not, and another great thing for families that I think a lot of people don't realize is you can change or cancel their flights at any time with no penalty fee. So if everybody gets, like, one time before we were going to Disney World, both kids got strep throat, and that happens. You can just cancel it and it's not a big deal. So I will teach people to always book them in points because you get the most flexibility that way. So if you booked your flight in points and you cancel, they just dump the points right back in your account. The points never expire. And you can cancel it right up to 10 minutes before the flight takes off with no penalty. You can also change. So like if you decide your dates change, you can just change the flight, not a problem. And so it really helps reduce stress, I think, when it comes to traveling with kids and everything. So, and just the last thing I'd say about, in terms of dealing with them is, yes, they have problems like every other airline, because I don't want to ignore that. They've had some famous meltdowns,
Yeah.
But so like we just saw Delta have it here over the summer with the Microsoft update that messed everybody up except Southwest. And so they all have those issues from time to time. But what you'll find with Southwest is generally they handle it much better, and they will make it up to you with travel credits or something to try to make up the difference, instead of being like, sorry, the Frontiers of the world that are oftentimes just jerks. Southwest is at least nice in trying to help you, and they will try to make up for it usually.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that because, I mean, I'll be honest, like my buddy Scott, he is very Delta centric because that's where he has all his status. And when he flies, I mean, obviously it is kind of a fancier experience. He shows he flies first class, in Southwest, everybody has their same seats.
They're all the same.
And exactly. And I mean, but that's, I always, the way I do it, I mean, this is just me, is that I always just build in early bird when I buy my fare. I purchase, because I'm usually going by myself. A couple times a year, the family goes, we go on a cruise. So I buy plane tickets for all 4 of us, and we'll go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland. So I'll buy it for all 4 of us. So then it does add up when you're multiplying things, by 4.
Yeah.
It adds up. But when I'm going solo, it's just, 20, 25, $30, each way. But I just build that in, and then, I know that I'm going to get a decent seat, but really when I'm solo, does it really matter where I'm sitting on the plane? And it doesn't have the most leg room, but it's a 2-hour flight. I'm going to go to Disneyland. It's a 4-hour flight, but it is what it is. It's just, it's a means to an end, and I know that, but again, it's how you want to spend your money, right? I mean, I could have a lie flat seat if I wanted to, I could be business class. I could have, better food. It's just how the world works. I am totally fine with just a safe, clean, friendly crew, nice, decent plane. Like I'm good for that amount of time just to, sit down, put in my AirPods, listen to a couple of podcasts, and I'm there. That's kind of how I roll.
And yeah, my approach to this is, Southwest is a middle of the road airline. It's not going to be like flying Spirit or Allegiant or Frontier, right? They actually have some of the best legroom in the industry for their standard seats. And you can, like, I do not teach you how to do layback seats. And there's a lot of that out there, fly first class to, I don't know, Thailand and stay in the penthouse or whatever. My game is, how many places can I get my family for free every year? And we accomplish that on Southwest. So I have a lot of people that too are hung up on Delta. Like, listen, you guys, you can do 5 times the trips for free on Southwest than you ever could on Delta. And so it comes down to, would you rather fly Delta once or twice a year for free? Or would you rather fly 5 or 6 times a year for free on Southwest? And your goal is to get to the destination. It shouldn't be the flight experience, right? That's like 2 or 3 hours of your life. As long as it's comfortable, it should be fine. It's more about where you're going.
Yeah.
So if you can get there for free, you can get to see more places around the world. And that's what this did for my family. We only could afford to drive anywhere before, and this completely opened up the world to us. Like, I'm just jaw dropped now at how many places we were able to take our kids. I've got one in college now and one who's about to be 17, and they're not so interested in traveling anymore. So heads up on that, you guys, right?
I'm with you. It's, like I said, 27 and going to be 17 as
Right.
well. Yeah, it's like, are they ever home? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, do it while they're interested, and make those memories that you'll cherish forever. Whether it's going to Disney as much as you want, and going other places too.
So
Maybe you want to go to Alani in Hawaii. For example.
God, Scott tells me he's been there this past summer. It was killing me. He's going back in March. So now that Southwest goes to Hawaii, I am so getting over there.
We've been there
Trust me.
twice for free on Southwest. Not to Alani, but just to Hawaii.
Yeah, my wife is really, really wanting to go there. So we're going to make that happen. We came close last summer, but it's going to happen. So you mentioned the companion pass. Tell us a little bit more about that and how to earn that, strategies, and what that's all about.
So the Southwest Companion Pass, which I'm just going to point out is different than Delta's Companion Pass. Those of you who are like, oh, but Delta has one, or oh, but Alaska has one. Those you can use one time, and then the person who is buying the seat, they have to pay in cash for their seat, and then they can add their companion for free. Alaska's, you even have to pay $90 to add them. Okay, Southwest is different. You earn this pass, and then you can bring your companion with you on as many flights as you want to take while you have the pass. And it's good from the time you earn it till the end of the following year. So the way I teach people to earn it, like my people right now are working to earn it so it lands in January, and then it'll be good through December 2026.
Wow.
And I have a process where you always have a companion pass going forward that lasts for about 2 years, because there's no better strategy than removing the cost of one person every single time from the mix. You don't have to pay any cash for them. You don't have to pay any points for them. And you could theoretically, if you wanted to fly every day of the year, you could add them for free. You do pay the $5.60 taxes per person per way, but basically for $11.20, you fly them to wherever you want to go. So the way you earn the pass is you have to collect 135,000 qualifying points. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually very simple to quickly accumulate those. And what we do is we take advantage of Southwest's they have multiple credit cards. So the way I teach it, you do have to responsibly engage a handful. I do it very different though, 2 to 3 travel cards to work my system. I'm not there's a lot of people out there just telling you to have a wallet full of cards. And I think that's overwhelming and time consuming, and people get into trouble doing that. But so what you do is you open 2 of Southwest cards, and the way they're set up is you meet a minimum spend, say $2,000 or $3,000 in the first 3 months. This is a good time of year to do it because you're probably spending stuff on holiday gifts and everything. And I just teach people, put your everyday spending on there. You're not buying something just to earn these points, right? You're just using things you're purchasing anyway to help meet that minimum spend. And then you earn a big chunk of points, like 50,000 points, 80,000 points. And you just have to do that 2 times. And then you've netted 135,000 points, and you've got the ability to add this companion for 2 years. And then better yet, you can use those 135,000 points to fly everyone else in your family for free. So if I earn the companion pass, I book myself in points, and I add my husband, for example, who's my companion, for free. And then I book my kids in points. So none of us are ever paying anything to fly. That's the idea.
Wow. And I have a Southwest card, but I'll be honest, I know a lot, because again, I know a lot of our folks are huge Disney fans. Obviously, we're a Disney podcast, and a lot of us have Disney visas. And we use kind of a lot of us use that Disney Visa for everyday purchases to earn, rewards points through them. So I think it's just, you just kind of have to shift your focus, right? Do you want to earn rewards points towards what you're going to use on Disney vacations or flying. It's kind of just how do you want to put your rewards and what maybe you get more bang for your buck.
And there's a better way than the Disney card to accomplish what you're trying to do there, which is to save on your, Disney dining or park tickets or whatever. And one thing I want to make a point of is on the Southwest cards, we're just trying to meet that minimum spend and earn that big chunk of points.
Stop. And then stop. Not like continuously use it. Just kind of once you hit that threshold, then you're good for the 2-year period, I guess.
Yes, and a lot of people think that you have to spend your way to that 135,000 points. That's probably the number one mistake I see people making. They've got the Southwest card, but they're putting all their spending on it and trying to earn 135,000 points by earning 1 point per dollar they spend. And that is that takes a lot of, first of all, you'd have to be able to spend $135,000 in a year, which I can't do. Even if you could, that would take you the better part of a year. And then your companion pass is only good for like a year and a couple months. So you want to do it with these bonuses. And then what I do is I shift you over to a flexible travel card instead for your everyday spending. So I really like the Chase Sapphire Preferred. The Capital One system is pretty good. Some people like Amex, something that is flexible, meaning like I like the Chase system because their points transfer to Southwest, but they also transfer to hotels, chains, they transfer to other airlines, and they have their own travel portal where you can book basically any hotel or any airline. So it accomplishes all of our goals, which is to fly anywhere we want, stay anywhere we want for free. Whereas if I'm just spending on the Southwest card, I'm just always earning Southwest points that can only be used there. If I spend on my Chase card, I can move the points over to Southwest if I need them there once I've earned my companion pass. Or if I don't need them there, I can transfer them to Hyatt and use them to book a free stay. Like we stayed for free in Costa Rica earlier this year and saved $6,000 doing that exact thing. So at a very nice resort.
Makes sense. Gives you more flexibility that way. Once you
that's
have
that's the key.
You have your companion pass, but then you have flexibility on the back, on the second half, on the back.
Yes.
End. Yeah.
And that's what I try to make this simple and easy for people because families are busy, people are working. It doesn't need to be a second job, and that's the key to it being easy is that flexible component. And because too, a lot of people think, well, they have a Delta card, they're just spending on that. Or they have a Marriott card and they're spending. You don't want to do that because you're limiting yourself to those systems only. You want to pick a flexible card that works with whatever chains or airlines you like.
Super. Okay, so everybody think about that because, think about that. If you could cut out flights, because that's the one biggest thing. Because, again, I work in travel. This is my full-time job. I'm a travel agent. I book Disney, and I book exclusively Disney vacations. That's all I book. And one of the things I get from my guests pretty commonly is, we book vacations more than a year out for a lot of guests. They'll book their dates and so forth, and they'll come back to me later on and they'll say, Mike, I got to change my dates, man. They Southwest or, whoever, they just released their flight schedules. And I just looked at the prices for the week I picked, and it's like, oh, we got to change the dates because that week I picked is spring break and those flights are crazy. Can we, move it a couple weeks earlier, a couple weeks later? So yeah, it is. If you could just get rid of the flight costs, think about how much more affordable that vacation is overall. If you look at the pie chart, just take that wedge out of there and you could spend that on a nicer hotel. You could stay longer, whatever. It opens up so many more options.
You can splurge at a sit-down restaurant that you don't normally do, or
a bunch of them. Yeah, a couple of them. So let me ask you, we also want to talk about some of the changes coming to Southwest. And, I'm one of those people, I don't like change very much. I like my early bird, I'm a rule follower. They say, A1 through 30, and I hop in there in my little spot and I'm good to go. Changes are coming, it sounds like, in 25, right?
Yes. And I want to back up to just one thing you said really quick, and then we'll talk about the changes. But you talked about like the prices being high over spring break, for example, right? I just want to point out another amazing reason to fly Southwest is there's so many ways that you can work that price down from what you see the published price to be. And there's many different ways to do this that are all following their rules. It's knowing how to maximize their system. But one simple thing you can do is just always check to see if the price drops after you book the flight.
Yes.
Particularly if you book in points. If you book in cash, they're going to give you a credit if the price has gone down. But if you book in points, like I do this almost every day because it's so easy to do. If the price has gone down after you book it, they will dump the points back in your account. And so particularly on Tuesdays is when prices tend to drop. If you check then, you'll be amazed at how much we save tens of thousands of points just doing that one thing. And then there's a lot of different tricks that we've developed to help you book flights on more expensive days, but pay a cheaper day price. There's all kinds of little tricks you can do. And because we regularly do, like we did Hawaii for 30,000 points from Chicago to Maui for 4 people. So you're going to pay almost that for one person on Delta. So, and it's by using some of these different compiled strategies that you can, once you book it, you can work that price down. So I would just say, you don't always have to move from the more expensive dates. Just know that because remember, they're very flexible, so you can change it,
And real quick, with a lot of these things, can you do this through the Southwest app, or do you have to do it like on because I mean, a lot of these things, you can do when you're just standing in line at the grocery store or something.
That's what I do.
Because we have,
if I'm taking a walk or
exactly.
picking the kids up or what,
it beats, doom scrolling on Twitter, save $1,000.
Yes, that's exactly it. Always check that.
Exactly.
So, okay.
I like it.
So changes coming to Southwest. So the big one is they're going to assigned seating. Now, that's the biggest complaint that I always hear from people of making the shift from one airline to Southwest, but they don't have assigned seats. How am I going to know where I'm sitting, right? So I think it's a good thing. But I know, a lot of Southwest loyalists like the system. We know how to work the system, like you said, and we do get to pick where we sit, which is kind of nice, right? That we'll sort of lose that function. But like my husband, he's tall, and so he does like to sit in the emergency row if we can. And so he is always nervous about, are we going to get the emergency row or not? And he's been A1 before. And can you believe he didn't get the emergency row because there were already people on the flight before us that didn't get off, and they just moved to the emergency row. So it's just, you can't guarantee it, right? So that they're going to move to assigned seating in 2026, but they'll start selling those flights in 2025. And so the cheapest fare, which is what I typically recommend you book because it's the fewest points, will not have a seat selection. So I'm updating my strategy that I teach. We'll have to see. They still haven't given us exact details, but they have told us that one won't have a seat selection, but Want to Getaway Plus will. So I think we're going to need to then just pay a few more points and get the Want to Getaway Plus, because families are going to want to know. I think if you don't have a seat selection, you're going to end up spread out, who knows where, probably in the middle seat. So that's no good.
And like I tell my guests too, I mean, people always ask me about travel insurance with vacation packages, and I tell them that's a personal decision, right? But if you buy it, here's what people don't think about, is that it's not just for the vacation. You have peace of mind from the time you purchase that travel vacation all the way through the vacation. So if the vacation's 10 months from now, you have peace of mind from today through 10 months from now when that vacation happens. So like you say, if the fare's $10 more to do Want to Getaway Plus compared to Want to Getaway, knowing that you're going to sit together, it's the mental anguish that you're not going to have to worry that, your 12-year-old is 12 rows in front of you because you didn't pay $10. Like it's just not worth it. Just go for it, I would say.
Yeah. And like the way I teach people to replenish their points is just through their everyday spending. And we tend to have a ton of points just doing that. And so it shouldn't be a problem to have to pay however many more points to get that seat. And they're also going to be adding extra legroom seats, which I know like a third of the plane will be extra legroom. I think a lot of people are excited about that. And here's a tip, is they're going to start retrofitting the planes beginning in January. And they're going to be doing 50 to 100 a month. And so, but we won't have to pay for the extra legroom seats until 2026. So you won't know if you're going to have a plane that's going to have the extra legroom seats. But if it does, and you have an early enough boarding, you'll get to sit there and try it out for free. So that's kind of cool.
I have a hot take on that
year.
though, because my daughter and I, when we fly Southwest, like I don't like the newer model planes. I think the older model planes are more comfortable. Like when we see the newer ones that have like all the blue lights and all that, you know,
Yeah.
the ones that look really cool. Those seats are not as comfortable in the newer planes as the when I get one of the older ones, I'm like, oh yeah, these are more comfortable. I don't know.
I think the newer ones have an inch of more of leg room, but you're right. I think the padding on the
Yeah,
seats is
I
not
think that's
as
what it
thick.
is. Yeah, exactly. She's
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, we got one of the new planes." I'm like, "Oh, we got one of the new planes." No, it's
But they
fine.
have added outlets on some of the new
Yeah,
planes,
they
which is
have.
desperately they needed to do that. So
Yes.
that's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, but
Now you
here,
can
I,
charge your stuff.
I have two daughters. I'm a walking power bank. You know, like they need them on the planes, but I mean, I could probably have enough power in my backpack to like power like everybody in the first 12 rows. You know, just come to me. I'm a dad. You know, I'm a dad of two daughters. Like I got 7 power bricks. Let's go. Just plug in. You know, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
And Southwest Flyers have had to learn to do that.
yes, absolutely. So let
Uh-huh.
me ask you this too. As far as like just the practicality of flying with Southwest for families, do you have any tips for families that are traveling this week? You know, maybe getting on a plane tomorrow, Wednesday, going to see grandma. Like anything that stands out, maybe a hidden secret to just make the flying process more comfortable.
Well, one thing you can do, they've made it so on any fare type, you can do same day standby now. So that might be something to look at if you want to fly an earlier flight. If there's an open seat, you can move to that flight. And you basically go into the app and put yourself on the list, and then you need to get there ahead of that flight. You have to physically be there for them to confirm that you're on it. But that might be something that might make your trip a little more comfortable. We do a lot of that kind of stuff, like booking the cheaper flight of the day, but then moving ourselves through things like that to the better flight. Now, the downside of that is you'd lose your boarding order. So you'd have to be okay with being at the back and maybe not sitting together. Another thing I'd say is, this week is prone for delays and cancellations. And so if you find yourself in any kind of scenario like that with Southwest, you want to always, always, always ask for a love voucher. Now, the government has made it so if it's more than 3 hours delayed, they have to give you at least $150 love voucher. But any inconvenience you experience with them, ask, because more often than not, they will give you those. And then like it gets complicated, but we have a whole way you can I just did this recently. I took everyone in my family that had any kind of a travel credit with Southwest or a love voucher, because we had some delays this summer. And I combined them all into one big travel credit that doesn't expire and moved it all to me. And then I used it myself to book, again, a free flight. So you can not just use points, but if you can collect enough of those, you can net yourself some free flights that way too. So just always ask. I think people don't know to ask, and you can ask at the gate. You can also ask afterwards. You can just go on the Southwest site, go to the help area, and you can fill out a form there. But you'll have to know your flight details. So try to keep track of that, your
Awesome.
flight number and all that.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm like just overwhelmed almost with the great information you've shared today because really knowledge is 90% of the battle, right? Just to know like
It's
how
just knowing
to go about this. So where could we go? Because obviously you have all these strategies. Point us someplace we can go to learn these strategies a little bit more in depth as we move. Because people are going to have their turkey dinners today and this later this week and be fiddling around on their phones and computers, and it's be a great time to kind of get a jump on 2025.
Exactly. This is the perfect time of year to, if you are interested in doing this, to get your strategy in place and set yourself up for success next year. I'd say if you're taking a walk after Thanksgiving dinner, I would recommend my podcast, which is just look it up, Families Fly Free. That's the best way to get a sense of my style and my process and how it works. And I do have a membership program if you want to just come in, have a plan given to you. I have a simple step-by-step process that just works to do this. That's easy. And then we provide personal support, and we have a community of people that are all doing this. We have tons of Disney folks in there because this is such a, as you said, if you can eliminate the flights to Disney, that's a huge expense. Like the average cost of a flight in the US is $350. And so just saving that on one set of, one flight for a family of four, you're, well over $1,200 or something like that. Um, and then there's a whole lot more you can do with it too. Once you kind of nail the flights and working the Southwest system, and we do go beyond Southwest. I like to say that too. So you don't have to just fly Southwest. You can fly another airline here or there, and we show people how to fly to Europe, which they don't fly to Europe. But I do want to say that's another change coming, is that next year you're going to be able to fly Southwest to Europe through Iceland Air. And we are very excited about that. Nice. Because that would be a really good deal. Particularly if we don't know if you could use your companion pass, but that would be nuts if you could.
You're hoping.
Oh, that'd be too amazing.
You'll have the wishbone out later this week and like on the Charlie Brown special or something. That's really cool. So as we close out the show today, I got to ask you this question because you've given us such great information, but this is kind of how I close out on Mondays, we typically do trip reports, but I thought this would be perfect for our audience this week. And, practical, great advice for folks that are, this is the time, we're always looking to make our vacations better and save money doing it. But do you have a great memory, like from a family trip at a Disney destination, whether it was just, you said you honeymoon there, but like a quick, just brief story you could share from one of your trips, just a special memory from a Disney trip.
Gosh,
I don't want to put you on the spot, but you probably, just like, because Disney's doing this marketing campaign right now. I don't know if you have the commercials in Indianapolis. They're on streaming stuff, but it's like they're going around kind of with like a camera crew, and they'll have people like, "What's your Disney moment?" People pull out their phones and show a picture, then kind of tell the story of what's going on, kind of something like that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like to get to Disneyland Paris was a big one, because that really. To me, Europe always seemed out of reach, even when we started to do this. And so it took me a couple years to kind of figure that out. But the fact that I could take my whole family to Europe was amazing. And then just my husband and I went to Disneyland Paris last summer. But that was just super special to me to see Disney in a foreign country. And I see Buzz Lightyear speaking French. Oh my goodness!
I've seen him speak. I've seen him speak Spanish, but I think that was in Toy Story 4 or 5. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So funny. So I think that was special, and we've just kind of made like Disney at the holidays and at Halloween too. I would say some of our best experiences were at Halloween, at Disneyland in particular. They just, as we talked about the ride, but just overall, they do Halloween way better than Disney World, and our family loves Halloween, and so that was always has been a special time for us to go out there and get in the Halloween spirit and do the party and all of that.
So you guys haven't done a cruise yet, huh?
We're not big cruisers. I've only taken one cruise in my entire life.
Be careful.
It's not a Disney cruise, but
be careful, man. One Disney cruise and you'll be hooked. Those things are pretty fun. They're pretty amazing.
Yep. So that's still on our list. Yes.
All right. Well, Lynn, hey, thank you so very much for coming on the show today. What great information. And one more time, where can people follow you, check out everything you're doing so people can make that connection this week?
Yeah, and my website is familiestravelfree.com. If you want to check that out. And also Families Fly Free pretty much on social media. And you feel free to reach out and ask me a question too. I'm happy to, I always personally answer everything. So happy to chat with you.
All right. Well, so glad you're on the show with us this week, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family out in Indianapolis.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Don't forget, today's show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you. Check out all the details today. And while you're sitting around watching football and having a piece of pumpkin pie, check out all the details over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you do that online shopping this week. We'd really appreciate that. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the all-stars of our podcast. You make it happen. You can support us as well, just $5 a month. And for that support, you get our bonus show. It's called Mike in the Midwest. Come on over this week. We'd love to have you at patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on the social media. I'm at beourguestmike on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And we'll have our live call-in show this Sunday night. We open up the phone lines and turn the show over to you. That's right. Even on Thanksgiving weekend, we'll be here 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Give us a call. It's you, me, and Scotty G. Actually, Scott will be in Walt Disney World. Just you and me. So we're going to be just taking your calls. And, so we need you. Be here. So, give me a call Sunday night. We'll have a good time. Maybe we'll get a guest co-host. We'll see. All right. And also we have our Discord server, the Clubhouse, 24/7, 365. Drop in beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. All right. Time to get out of here until we get back together again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions for my birthday. We'll be back until then. So for Lynn, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Whatever you do, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.